I'm saying that.
Oh,
Welcome back to another episode of Cigar and Whiskey Talk. I am your host, Taylor. These are my guys, Sam and Marcus. What's up, guys?
how's it going, man?
Good.
You gotta do it right, bro.
I just do the boomerang. That's all I see is on Instagram.
Nah, have you seen the movie though? It was great.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for an opportunity when my schedule permits, but I'm getting a lot of great reviews.
Okay.
I know they're doing crazy box office numbers. I've been listening to a lot of interviews, especially with Ryan Coogler, like listening to him talk and stuff. He's so he just sound like one of us. Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
you really sound like I don't know. It's just crazy to
Like
say.
a regular black kid.
Yeah, like, it sound like that. I thought it was gonna be like some astute, you know what I mean, like well off. I mean, I don't know anything about him in all reality, but he seemed pretty human, so
Yeah.
pretty good.
I thought the movie was dope. A lot of action. I was like geeking out at all the CGI. Like, oh my god. And Michael B. Jordan.
Oh my
Love
god.
you. Boo.
Nah, the movie was great. I felt my favorite part of the movie was pretty much how they portrayed like black women. Like, to have an all woman army like the Wakandans. Like they have like different tribes make up Wakanda. So the Black Panthers tribe, they have an all woman army, and they're fierce.
Yeah.
And in a way, they kind of protect him. It's like they're like, I don't want to say like mother figure or anything like that, but they, in a way, they grew up watching him. I mean, they watched him grow up, so it was kind of like they played like that. Like I guess like a nurturing figure to him. It was dope. Like I loved it. I loved it all around, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a chance to watch. I'm probably gonna watch it twice, but I just want to contribute money to the record. So I know I'll probably get it on DVD or something. But
I've seen it twice already. Yeah, and I'm probably gonna see it a third time.
that's crazy.
You were saying earlier that you wanted to see it in 4D, right?
Yeah, I definitely want to see it
I think
on
that's
4D. Man. 4D is like, do you ever seen anything in 4D?
Nah.
Yeah, 4D is like where they have like machines around you. So like, let's say there's like a water scene, like mist will shoot at you.
Oh,
or
I
there's
heard
like
about
debris,
that.
like you'll feel like bumps on your back and like things will vibrate. The seat will like shift. So I want to see it like that.
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah, I would definitely watch it again with that.
I'm trying to. Everyone I know is like had enough of the 3D effects. Like no one really likes.
Yeah,
I guess it's mess with people's heads.
I've had enough. But I love this movie though. It's like, it really, I don't know, did this Black History Month feel different to you guys?
It does. I mean, like, the Black Panther movie definitely set the tone. But I don't know. I just don't feel like it's like a lot going on, per se.
It's hard to say because it's like it's Black History Month under Donald Trump's regime, and so it's like I feel like it's been Black History Month ever since he got elected. You know what I mean, it's kind of like I don't know. I don't know if February hit and I was like, oh, it is Black History Month, but we've just been so like war ready the entire time.
Yeah.
But Black Panther definitely made it like, nah, it's Black History Month because it happened just now. Like, oh, it does happen in February.
Yeah. But with Black History Month, do you guys have any like women that are your favorites or that you want to highlight or so? Because Women's History Month is coming up.
I was going through that list. I was trying to figure out like who my favorite. I was looking at Sojourner Truth. I like Sojourner Truth. I like Rosa Parks. I gotta go with Harriet Tubman. Yo, she's a goon. Like she's the original like brave woman. Because her story is crazy. I go with Harriet Tubman.
I never really thought about who my favorite woman in history was until this topic kind of came up. And for me, it would probably be Serena Williams. Just because, I used to be an athlete. She's an athlete. In my opinion, she might be the best athlete. Like
Champion of the world.
Champion of the world, like in history. I don't think man, woman, cat, dog. I really don't think it. I really don't think it matters. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, they should put her in the movie.
She should be a Black Panther.
Yeah, she should have been in the movie.
You think she should have been part of the army?
Definitely.
They should have made her if Marvel could have Storm in the movie, they should have made her Aurora and had her married to Sean. But I don't know. We'll see.
I'd say my favorite woman right now, she's new to like Black history and new to women's history, Tanya Boyd. She's the first Black deputy chief of the New York firefighters. So I was like, this is kind of dope. I saw her, I was watching the news somewhere, and I was like, oh wow, like I can't believe there hasn't been one yet. And she started like in November. So
Isn't it crazy that we're still experiencing like first
First
black
black
this,
thing.
first black that? Like it's 2018 and we're still talking about stuff
Yeah.
like this.
I mean, it's America. I don't be surprised. You know what I mean, like this stuff comes up on the news, like all the cruelties, all like the harsh realities of things. I really don't be caught off guard these days. But yeah, I mean, for the sake of humanity, it is pretty ridiculous that there's still like first black anything happening right now in America, at least.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Actually, I was speaking to someone about the movie and their remarks towards it were it didn't wow me. And in terms of like action movies, like typical Marvel movies, in a sense he was right. It didn't wow me, but I felt as though like the messages in the movie was it was more that was more important to me than what actually took place in the movie. So that's what made it special for me. It had a ton of, you know, messages that really sat well with me, like like how they portrayed black women, and you know they were pretty much the protectors of Wakanda.
Yeah.
You know, it's an all-woman army. They were fierce, you know, beating people up. It was awesome, and you know, it really portrayed, I guess, how, you know, it really portrayed how black women have been throughout history and being strong and standing by our men and so forth. I loved it all around.
Yeah.
That all black woman army. That's what I want to see, man. I'm interested in that because it's like old Africa. I guess according to like textbooks has like, what is it, matriarchal, if you have women at the top.
Yeah.
So they have like a lot of matriarchal societies. So I was like, I want to see like situations where women are not like housewives and they're like the breadwinners, or they're like the hunter gatherers of society. So it's just like, I don't know, like there's so many arguments, you know what I mean? Especially like people that do like behavioral theory and stuff like that. They're talking about what does maternity mean and what does masculinity mean. You know, if you can bring up solid examples of women being hunter gatherers, it kind of disrupts the entire conversation. So it's like I really want to see that at least.
I think what I liked the most was that, again with the female army, but that they didn't pander to black people. So it wasn't like the typical like lines of like, you know, like when you see like a black cast and maybe the writer might be white or maybe not black, and they kind of say these things that they think we're gonna be like, oh, that was lit, or like, you know. So I definitely enjoyed like the writing of it, the messages that were there too. Some of the quotes. I don't want to ruin it for you, but quotes.
Twitter has already ruined it.
If you're familiar with Wakanda, they're pretty much like, to the world, they're like a third world country that lives on its own, doesn't accept help from anyone, and that's how it is on the outside looking in. But in reality, they're like the richest country in the world. They have all the resources. I think that they have the most powerful resource, vibranium, which they can make, I think, almost anything out of. And I think to Killmonger's point, he was kind of like, you know, how could you live here with all of this and be happy knowing that there's black people all over the world that's suffering? And
I like that.
that was, you know, that was his point to, you know, try to help everyone. So what's your take on that? If you were in Wakanda, what would you do? Would you kind of want to stick to yourself and keep what you have to yourself, or would you, you know, try to go out there and save all the other black people and help them out?
Well, it's a double-edged sword because, you know, the minute that you announce you have enough resources to help all of the black people or any other large group of people start attacking your resources.
That was T'Challa's point.
Yeah, we need parts. You know what I mean? At the same time, Killmonger is kind of right. If you have all these resources, why? And you know, assuming that Wakanda is a darker human pride place where then we just take pride in darker humans as opposed to Wakandans, you know, then he should also understand where he's coming from. But that's the reason why my eyes lit up when hearing that rhetoric is because it's kind of the thing that we're in right now, and that's what I've been discussing with people too. You know, even though I haven't seen the movie, is that Africans and African Americans are so far away from one another. You know, like, you know, it's cool that we're all celebrating like African culture right now, but I know I have a lot of African friends that are looking at their culture be turned into a trend, and they feel a way about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, I asked my African friends, I said, is slavery taught in the school, in the school system in Africa? And a lot of them, it's no, we've never heard of that, we didn't discuss it. So, I mean, some comedians say that. I experience people telling me to go back to Africa. I can't go back there. No one. I don't. They don't know me over there. I'm not from over there. I'm from here. So it's it's like a catch-22 because who's right and who's wrong? They're both right and they're both wrong. To be prideful about being a Wakandan over being a dark human, you're not really wrong in that situation. Do you share your plight with other people if you never, especially if you're in Wakanda, you never experience it? So.
I mean, they kind of touched on it too, though. With like one character who wasn't even black, they brought him back to like kind of heal him. Spoiler alert. And I think that kind of changed their whole mindset of opening up their resources to other people. So I think a lot of foreshadowing too. Like hopefully that can influence the world right now.
Just to touch on that statement you made just now about, I guess, African culture being a trend now. I understand why someone would say that, but I don't completely agree. For me, when we were younger, our friends used to be called like African booty scratchers, used to get made fun of all the time. But did you know anything about your history when you were younger? When you were making fun of Africans, you didn't have the same knowledge you had now? Well, not you, not you per se, but I feel as though, me personally, I probably had a couple African jokes here and there growing up, but I didn't have the knowledge I had now. I felt like as I got older, as I started to experience different things, I started to appreciate my culture more, and I think that's what it is. At least for me, I feel it's more so of me appreciating my culture than it becoming a trend. Trends come and go, you know what I'm saying?
There's some people that will argue that it's not your culture, and that's the problem.
But they're like, I feel like you're limiting the world by doing that.
Definitely. I agree too.
It's like, I mean, I understand the thing of like, okay, you guys were making fun of us before, so why are you celebrating this now? But like, at some point, there has to be a shift. There has to be something that says, all right, we're going to move forward and introduce this culture and welcome it and everything like that, and not say that it's appropriation or...
Well, I think what we would need Africans to actually accept the idea that we were once African and taken from Africa. I feel like there's not much like... It's like, yeah, we heard this story, but we was over there.
Because they haven't been taught that.
Exactly, yeah, they don't understand it, and until you get here and you start getting affected by systematic oppression that stemmed from it, but the actual act of it and the actual act of just living as a person with no identity or no idea where they're from, I mean, it's kind of hard for someone to just adopt, even though you look like them, but you have such a different, like hip hop black and African black is so like. It's true. Black. It's different. Like to me, African American is hip hop black. Not that Africans don't listen to hip hop, but it's like hip hop comes from American African experience. You know what I mean? Like it comes from the American black person's African experience. American experience, as opposed to where an African comes here and they're adopting hip hop. That's something that we made up, and you're adopting the experiences that created that. So it's.
Well, isn't it kind of like an exchange though, because a lot of hip hop like aspects come from African culture too.
And stuff like that. Well, that's where the conversation is kind of complicated.
Right?
Because it's like does the beat of a snare drum or the beat of drums, is that really what's like symbolic to hip hop? Is that beat synonymous with being black? Is that something that's like genetically you're predisposed to know and understand, or is it something that we're like snatching from different cultures? Is kind of like if you date back to like Jamaica, there's like rapping in Jamaica before hip hop. You know what I mean? It's rapping in the West Indies before hip hop. It's kind of hard to delve into. I don't know. I feel like my situation is kind of different though, because like I'm part Ethiopian, so that my house is still influenced by that, and I was raised in a Rastafarian household, so it's like from my youth, like there's pictures of me as a child wearing like African garb, you know what I mean? So it's just like I was educated to it. I never called like people booty scratchers. Like the most popular kid in my middle school was like an African kid, so it was like we were all mobbing with him. It was like so it wouldn't make sense for me to make fun of him. We were going to his house, and I was meeting his family and everything. You know what I mean? So I was kind of brought up in African households to a certain extent. I don't want to say I can't claim that, but I can understand both sides. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like you Black Panther, it's great. Even the accents, I feel kind of weird. Like I'm seeing all these like jokes about Forrest Whitaker and like the accent he had in the movie, and I feel kind of weird watching like African American like imitating that accent with like text, and it's like if I'm someone from Africa that just moved here, like I don't know how I feel about it. So it's just.
Well, there was an interview that Chadwick Boseman did that he said that he kind of like surrounded himself with someone that had like the actual dialect so he could learn it. So I respect that. I don't know what Forrest Whitaker was doing, but
I don't know what it sound like, but I'm just seeing what people are writing it out as, and it look crazy, so I'm just like, I don't know, I don't know if this is okay, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna protest to African people that, you should be upset, but I have been discussing with different friends of mine that are African that feel like, their culture is being kind of turned to something that may not transcend time for, a long amount of time until Black Panther is no longer popular, so I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like a level of protection type of thing. And then like even with the shootings, how they want teachers to protect the kids with being armed. What do you guys think about that?
Man,
this guy is such a bozo. All right, so in 2016 he put out a tweet saying Hillary is crooked because Hillary was assumed Hillary was accusing him of wanting guns in the classroom. And he said, Hillary is crooked. I would never want guns in the classroom. And here we are.
That's why you shouldn't use the word never.
He's crazy. He should just not have a Twitter in reality. But I'm not going to tell him to take that away. Anyway, I saw someone else say, like, you expect teachers to be John Wick with the tool. Which is mad funny because it's true. Like, there's so many teachers I've seen spaz out. Like, I've taught a class before, and I've gone into class angry. Like, I couldn't have a gun. Like, you can't give a teacher a gun. That's crazy.
That's nuts. That's nuts. Something has to be done about it. I don't really watch the news every single day, but the Florida shooting was the first I've heard this year.
Yeah, I don't watch the news at all, but that people creeps into conversation. It's such a crazy experience, and I'm on Twitter, and which is another weird thing with like survivors of the shooting are like tweeting, and of course they have amassed a big following, but I can't really tell the direction as of right now. I'm sure they're still like recovering from the incident. There's so much like social media recording of the incident, which is crazy to me. Like to be like for that situation to be happening, for you to be on Snapchat, I just can't. I don't know.
That's the last thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that many shootings have happened this year. They gotta introduce gun control. People are making arguments about whether it's the person or the gun. It don't matter. You can't give that kind of risk up. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have enough. We don't have enough resources to really test the people that get guns.
And it's really the type of guns, though. I mean,
this guy had a
he has an
double-handed.
it's like an AR-15 spraying up classrooms, like.
Yo, and there was videos on his Instagram of him like killing animals and like doing all kind of crazy
making
stuff.
threats and stuff too.
Yeah, like he was wild for a long time.
When you see things like that, you that's when you kind of need to step in. I feel like those are signs that, all right, this person should not have a gun. You're out here just killing wild animals. Like that's taking it a little bit too far, man.
Yeah, that's true. Because I don't know what the culture in the South is where these things happen. Like, where people can get guns that easily. I mean, so. I don't know. I just think they need to step in and just. Cardi B was like.
Stop teasing them.
Huh?
Stop teasing the bullies or something like that.
No, she was. Or maybe she said that too. But she was saying something like they only put metal detectors in the schools in the hood, but they don't put metal detectors anywhere else. And I'm like, that's kind of true though. Like, they should put metal. Like every school should get a metal detector at this point. Right. That's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
And then there's like they're identifying all these like sheriffs and deputies and trained officials that were on the scene, which were like hidden and all this craziness. Yo,
they were just hidden?
Yeah, like they weren't responding to the 911. Like they were there, but not doing anything.
On tape, hiding.
Really?
Nervous.
Yeah, I think one got suspended with no pay.
Soft.
Wow.
Disgusting.
That's incredible. Had that have been a black man,
Had the shooter been a black man?
No,
yeah, so that's what I mean. Had the
history?
shooter been a black man, nobody would have been hiding
They found
anywhere.
the guy. This is what I.
They would have found some way to tie it to all Black Lives Matter.
They would have sprinkled some crack on him. But apparently he was like strolling down the street like a little while afterwards. They just pulled up on him, told him to get on the ground, and he went in uninjured.
I actually heard a friend of mine mentioned that that the United States is going to start implementing gun control when black people start going out and buying guns.
Makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if that if we started if we were the reason that change happened. I wouldn't be surprised. We have that ability.
We have that ability.
We do have that ability. I mean, if we start touching things, people start watching it. So America's wild though.
On that note, this has been Cigar and Whiskey Talk, where nothing is off limits. I'm Taylor, and these
I didn't
are
see it yet.
Wakanda out.
Wakanda out.